St. Mary's. We are here for the continuation of our Ten Commandments. So we are going through the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which is awesome. And I think that, thank God, I was sitting in a Bible study the other day with some of the high schoolers, and it was funny. One of the people there was a brother who was a college student, and we were just talking about the importance of confession. And someone in the group brought up that there is no importance of confession, that we don't need to go, actually. And I was like, well, that's actually not true, right? If we do commit a mortal sin, in order for that to be removed, we have to go to a priest, and he has to hear our confession. And so he wasn't buying it, so I was like, well, it's beautiful. I don't have to, it's not up to me, right? It's not up to you. It's not up to any of us, right? It literally is in the Catholic Church, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. They tell us exactly what we need to do to get to salvation, right? It's very simple. So it's actually, so we were, I think that discussion actually helped the kids realize, that at the end of the day, thank goodness it's not up to us. Because if we're wrong, then that's a big problem, right? Our whole salvation kind of can depend on that. So, good thing that we have a church and we're not, just like in another church where, in a sense, they have to make their own rules. They have to kind of call the shots, and if they're wrong, that's a big deal, right? Like the faith, we don't want to, miss errors. We don't want to have errors in faith and reason. So beautiful, the Catholic Church actually prevents those who are in the Catholic Church within the walls of it to fall into these huge errors, right? So that is awesome. So thank goodness for the Catholic Church. So this is the third commandment. We're on number 3. And talking about the Sabbath. Okay, so the Sabbath is, it is literally my favorite commandment of all commandments put together. Trying to think, except for the first one, I guess, because I had to love God with all my mind, heart, and strength. But but really, I started to live this about 10 years ago. I was reading a book, and Jesus was rebuking, he was talking to one of the saints, he was rebuking the society, essentially, for not taking the Sabbath seriously and just doing servile work, doing things that we're not supposed to be doing on the Sabbath. And it hasn't really turned into a day of worship for God. It just kind of turns into a day for just continuing our labors, essentially, which is not what it's supposed to be. It really, and these last 10 years, I absolutely love it. I sit and I just experience God in a profound way. Most of the time when I was in seminary, I just would have, pretty consistently, I would be able to just rest. I do all my work. I would have literally nothing to do. And I would devote that day perfectly to God. Like, there was nothing besides being with family members, being with my friend seminarians, enjoying the fruits of reality. I'd eat whatever I wanted. It's supposed to be a day of celebration. So in the Old Testament, God the Father mentions to the Israelites 3 things, that you are to do 3 things: drink sweet drink, eat rich food, and then give your food to give part of your bread to the hungry. So anyways, so it just became this beautiful tradition, and my closeness to God just tripled. I mean, it really actually just took off in a profound direction. So I love the Sabbath, but the church does kind of mention a couple things that we need to do. So we need to go to Mass on Sundays and holy days of obligation. To omit that for a not serious reason is considered a mortal sin, right? So one mortal sin, I tell my confirmation students, is enough to separate us from God for all eternity, right? Most people look at the Catholic Church and they're like, well, Tom, is that really, are you really going to go to hell for all eternity just because you missed one time? And I ask them, I say, like, hey, if I ran to the top of the Sears Tower or the Empire State Building and I jumped off, how many times would I have to do that before I died? They said once. It's like, well, good job, right? I think same spiritually. Like, if we make this decision, we know that this is a mortal sin, and we decide not to go to Mass on Sunday, or a holy day of obligation, then we just decided to separate ourselves from God, and if we die in that state, then that's for all eternity. But so that is. That's the beauty of it, though. I don't know why we would want to skip Mass. Like Mass, you actually receive the heart of Jesus. Have you seen my Eucharistic miracle talks? Like you eat God, like you eat the heart of God. There's literally nothing of greater value in the entire universe, times a trillion. Like if we miss that, you know what I mean? Like how can we miss that? Like that is like the most amazing thing ever. So that's number one. The second thing that's kind of, people are like, well, is it this? Do we do this? Should we do this? Should we not do this? So the requirement to not do any servile work, servile labor is the type of work a servant would do, right? So like cutting the grass, cleaning the house, even gardening would fall under that category of doing servile labor. And so all of that, like, are we? So that's important to realize, is the work that we're doing, is it servile? Now we can do, we can prepare food, we can clean after ourselves after meals, we can prepare for meals. All that falls under the category of necessities. So we can do all that kind of stuff. I heard even going to restaurants is acceptable. And it says that in the Catechism, so I'm going to stick with that. Some people are like, only if it's necessary. But yeah, I'm going to stick with what's in the Catechism. And then, so that kind of talks about the importance of the Sabbath. We're not really supposed to go even and do most of our shopping, our grocery shopping, or shopping for anything, really. We're not supposed to spend money. And the reason for that is because we promote the work of others on our behalf. So it is kind of a lot, but again, the key is, and I'll end with this. This is a bit of a longer one, but the key is to remember why. Why do we do all this stuff? Why are we trying to set this day aside? And it goes back to Pope Francis. He had this beautiful reflection. He said that God made man in 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested. And so, okay, who are you and me? God created everything that existed, and then he created a home, a tabernacle. So we're tabernacles of the Holy Spirit. A tabernacle in Greek is actually a tent. That is what a tabernacle is. And so God created his home in 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested. Okay, so where did he rest? Well, he just built a home to rest in his home, right? So he rests in us. So it's a day of God. It's a day of rest for us. It's a day of rest mostly for God. Like he looks forward to these unions, these communions that he gets to spend with us for a whole day, like he loves us tremendously, and he only asked for one day. Like that's what he asked for us. But it's just like so that he can fill our hearts, so that he can come into our lives more radically, so that we can have an experience of God more consistently in our lives. If we don't have an experience of love from a spouse or a friend or whatever, after a certain time, that friend starts to fade, right? I don't know if you love me anymore. And so if I don't have that experience, then I just won't know, like that, then the relationship will start to break down. That's happened in my life many times. I'm sure that's happened in yours. So we only got through one today. And it's a little longer, forgive me, but yeah, I think it's super important. The last thing is Divine Mercy Sunday is coming up. I cannot tell you enough. Like, we are so lucky to have lived through this last year so that we have the opportunity to go to Divine Mercy Sunday. Like, all sin, everything's committed in our entire life, all punishment, everything is completely annihilated. Like, that is so, so, so incomprehensible if you, knew what I knew. Okay, stay tuned. God bless you. Love you all. Bye.